Welcome to VSF News, the news that knows. I'm Richard Rempel, your trusted reporter. Dateline, New York, June 1948. The June 26th issue of the New Yorker publishes Miss Shirley Jackson's story, The Lottery. The magazine receives a torrent of letters, the most it's ever received for a work of fiction. Readers demand an explanation of the situation of the story. Miss Jackson responds July 22nd, 1948. Explaining just what I had hoped the story to say is difficult, very difficult. I suppose I'd hoped by setting a particularly brutal ancient rite in the present and in my own village to shock the story's readers with a graphic dramatization of the pointless violence and general inhumanity in their own lives. Kent Brockman says, of course, the book does not contain any hints on how to win the lottery. It is rather a chilling tale of conformity gone mad. Some have made comparisons between the lottery and the military draft, where young men were selected at random for military service. The story was written just 3 years after the end of World War II. It'll be very interesting to see how this story is received years from now. I think that the lottery is still a very disturbing story. It begins with a town having a lottery, one that looks at deciding a family and then a member within a family for something that is not known. What is this ritual about? What do you win? Now, this story has been taught in school and in universities. A lot of people know the result of this story or the conclusion to this story. Now, I'm going to mention the end of the story, but if you would like to tune out, that's okay. Let me just mention that the stories of this book are unsettling. They seem like normal slices of life, but there's something that's just a little off kilter. She was a big influence on Richard Matheson, so if you like his stories, you'll probably like Shirley Jackson's as well. So if you're going to leave right now, just know that I do recommend this book. For those of you staying, of course, we're talking about a ritual sacrifice of the person who wins the lottery. It's one of those ancient farm rituals to ensure a good growing season and harvest. And it's melded together with small-town America of 1948. It is deeply disturbing and unsettling. It does make us look into what our society does in the name of our corporate being. In 100 years from now, will there be things that we do that people will be shaking their heads at and wondering how we could be so barbaric? Shirley Jackson is a gifted writer, and she had a short writing career. She was born December 14th, 1916, and died August 8th, 1965, at the age of 48. Her writing career, her active years, were from 1943 to 1965, a mere couple of decades in which she composed 6 novels, 2 memoirs, and over 200 short stories. Her most famous novels are The Haunting of Hill House from 1959, a supernatural horror novel regarded as one of the best ghost stories ever written, and her final work from 1962, We Have Always Lived in the Castle, a gothic psychological horror. It has been described as her masterpiece. I do want to read both of those novels for this channel, but let's talk a little bit more about some of the short stories. As I mentioned earlier, her stories really influenced Richard Matheson and all those writers of the Twilight Zone stories. It took a natural setting or a natural relationship and just made it a little off kilter. For example, there's a woman on her wedding day who searches frantically for her fiancé. We start wondering if he is a figment of her imagination. Or the story Charles, where we have a young boy reporting on the misbehavior of a classmate. His parents come to a parent-teacher conference, and it appears that there is no such classmate. Or a man whose dog may be killing chickens within the community, within the rural community. What kind of justice does this community demand? Or Flower Garden, looking at societal exclusion, even racism. Other stories, including a satirical look at working within a large department store, where things, once again, I say, are unsettling, off kilter, not quite the way you would expect. Now, there aren't always resolutions to these stories like you would expect in a Twilight Zone episode. Sometimes we're just left there in this uneasiness. In this way, they're slices of life, but in life where you have some stress, anxiety about situations. And I can only imagine at this point how much further this mood that she sets appears within her novels. If you read those novels, please comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on her writing. The Lottery and Other Stories is a collection of 25 stories. They were first published in the 1950s and continue to be published to today. This is well worth picking up if you see one in a used bookstore, even to purchase new. I give The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson 9 out of 10. So have you read any of Shirley Jackson's stories? Which are your favorites? Let me know in the comments below. Until next time, be sure to stay tuned for more VSF reports. And, of course, keep reading.